Hey guys, Mosa here, and today I'm bringing you my Week 14 Seahawks versus Cardinals recap. Now, without a further ado, let's get started. Now, starting off with the Arizona Cardinals, on offense, Kyler Murray in the passing game threw 38 passes, 25 of them being completed, 259 yards, 2 touchdowns to 2 interceptions. Now, honestly, not that bad of a stat line, but he did throw 2 interceptions before he threw 2 touchdowns, so there's that. But besides it, he kept it relatively decent, but obviously it was not enough. And yeah, Kyler Murray is most likely going to stay the quarterback of the Cardinals. I don't expect him to be traded or replaced anytime soon. But if he doesn't result in some playoff appearances or whatnot, I think that the Arizona Cardinals might actually replace him maybe next year or the year after, because this is definitely not what the Cardinals asked for when they drafted him first overall. Now, in the run game, they had an excellent run game. 18 carries, 90 yards, no touchdowns for James Conner. Then you get, obviously, quarterback Kyler Murray running 3 times for 16 yards, and Trey Benson getting 2 carries for 15 yards, totaling 23 carries to 121 yards and no touchdowns. The top guy on that running team is James Conner. Conner honestly did a very good job in the run game, and honestly, it was expected. It was expected of him to do good. In the end, it all comes down to how the defense performed, because obviously the defense failed the Cardinals, and the offense, at least from the run game's perspective, it just blossomed throughout most of the game, especially James Conner. Now, in this game, they also had a good receiving core with 7 catches, 14 targets, 70 yards, no touchdowns for Trey McBride. Then you get Michael Wilson with 2 receptions, 3 targets, 57 yards, and a touchdown. Then you get Marvin Harrison Jr. with 4 receptions, 8 targets, 49 yards, no touchdowns. James Conner, 4 targets, 4 receptions, 32 yards, and a touchdown. Amari DeMarcado, I don't know if that's how you say it, but he got 4 receptions out of 4 attempts, 15 yards, no touchdowns. Then also we got Tip Ryman, who got 1 target, 1 reception, 14 yards. Then Zay Jones with 2 targets, 1 reception for 13 yards. And then both these last 2 had 1 target for 1 reception. Greg Dortch getting 5 yards, and Trey Benson 4 yards. Honestly, top, obviously, it's Trey McBride. He did an amazing job for the Arizona Cardinals in the receiving game. Obviously, Michael Wilson did a good job, and so did rookie wide receiver Marvin Harrison Jr., James Conner as well, both the run and pass game. Honestly, on the Arizona Cardinals side, he is the MVP of this game, without a shadow of a doubt. But in the end, it really all comes down to how good this offense can be with a horrible defense, because like I've said, the only reason they lost, defense. Now on to the defense of the Arizona Cardinals, starting off with the top player on defense, Budda Baker, 18 tackles with 8 solo tackles and a tackle for loss. Kazir White with 13 tackles and 4 solo tackles. Then we get Jalen Thompson with 6 tackles, 2 solo tackles. Mac Wilson with 5 tackles, 2 solo tackles. Then we move on to Sean Murphy Bunting and Garrett Williams, both with 4 tackles and 1 solo tackle. Then we move on to Jesse Luketa and Dante Stills and Adrian Taylor Demerson, with each having 3 total tackles and a solo tackle. Then we move on to LJ Collier, who had 2 tackles and 2 solo tackles, and he had 1 tackle for loss. Julian Okwara and Baron Browning, both with 2 tackles, 1 solo tackle, and a tackle for loss. Naquan Jones and Starling Thomas getting 2 tackles and 1 solo tackle. Roy Lopez getting 2 tackles and 0 solo tackles. He did leave the game with an injury, so there's that as well. Zach Pascal, Xavier Thomas, Max Melton all getting 1 tackle and 1 solo tackle, while Zaven Collins and Darius Robinson get 1 tackle and no solo tackles. Now, when it comes down to it, You had no interceptions or forced fumbles by the Arizona defense. So we're not really seeing that much coming from them. Otherwise, I'm seeing this as a very bad defensive matchup from the Cardinals. Not stat-wise, because stat-wise they did pretty decent, but mostly due to the fact that they let up 30 points on. And honestly, the Seattle Seahawks deserve this win. 30 points in this game. The run game, the pass game, they were just getting cooked by the Seattle Seahawks offense all day long with DK Metcalf, Jackson and Jigba, and Zach Charbonnet. So in the end, I think this defense needs a lot of work to do. Now moving on to the Seahawks offense, and in the passing game, Geno Smith throwing 30 passes, 24 completions, 233 yards, and a touchdown with no interceptions. Honestly, he did pretty good. He did good enough. Not the best, but he definitely did good enough. And that was because the run game of the Seattle Seahawks, just like the Arizona Cardinals, was the main factor in this game. Obviously, the pass game had something to do with it, but honestly, the run game had a lot more to do with it than the pass game. Now, in the run game, honestly, Seattle, Zach Charbonnet, 22 carries, 134 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Then, moving on to Kenny McIntosh with 7 carries, 38 yards, no touchdowns. Jackson Smith and Jigba getting a carry for 4 yards, and no yards and 1 carry for Geno Smith. Now, when it comes down to it, this game turned out to be an insane. Honestly, I think the spirit of Kenneth Walker entered Zach Charbonnet as he got not only over 100, but nearly got over to 150 yards, 140 yards rushing in this game. 2 touchdowns as well. A 51-yard long. Honestly, this guy is incredible. And honestly, I'm happy the Seattle Seahawks drafted him. And Zach Charbonnet and honestly, Kenny McIntosh, 2 good running backs. Obviously, McIntosh not do as good, but honestly, he did good enough because the Seattle Seahawks just rocked it on the run game all day long. Now, in the receiving game, Jackson Smith and Jigba getting 5 targets, 5 receptions, 82 yards, and a touchdown. Zach Charbonnet, 7 targets, 7 catches, 59 yards, and no touchdowns. DK Metcalf, 6 targets, 4 receptions, and 49 yards, no touchdowns. Noah Fant, 4 targets, 3 receptions, 18 yards, and no touchdowns. 1 target, 1 reception, and 13 yards for AJ Barner. 2 targets, 2 receptions for Kenny McIntosh. That is 7 receptions for him. Then you get Pharaoh Brown with 1 reception, 2 targets, 6 yards. And then Tyler Lockett just had 1 target, and it was an incomplete pass. While George Holani, which is honestly a name I've never heard of the Seattle Seahawks, getting 1 target and 1 reception for -1 yards. Honestly, top 3 players, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Zach Charbonnet, and DK Metcalf. Honestly, this game, the MVP overall, I've said that James Conner is the MVP for the Cardinals. The overall MVP is Zach Charbonnet. Incredible run game and incredible receiving game for Zach Charbonnet. And honestly, he has been a good backup for Kenneth Walker. So I'm not really that much troubled with him there. But in the end, it all really comes down to how good are the Seahawks really? Because when it comes to the postseason, are we going to be that team going to the Super Bowl? Highly doubt it. But if we are, we can't be making mistakes, which sometimes we do tend to make. Luckily, we didn't make them. And honestly, very good offensive game for the Seattle Seahawks, putting up 30 points. Now on to the defense. We got Trice Knight as our top tackler with 12 tackles and 3 solo tackles. 8 tackles and 6 solo tackles for Ernest Jones IV. Although he also did get a 12-yard interception as well. Tariq Woolen getting 8 tackles and 5 solo tackles. Julian Love, 7 tackles, 5 solo tackles. Then Devin Witherspoon getting 7 tackles, 4 solo tackles, and a tackle for loss. Leonard Williams, 7 tackles, 3 solo tackles, and 2 tackles for loss. Then Kobe Bryant with 4 tackles and no solo tackles. He also got a 9-yard interception on the Arizona Cardinals, obviously. Rayshawn Jenkins getting 3 tackles and 2 solo tackles, a sack, and a tackle for loss. Then we get, obviously, Boye Mafe and Byron Murphy II getting each 3 tackles and no solo tackles, 2 tackles and 0 solo tackles for Josh Jobe. Then we move on to Jonathan Hankins with 1 solo tackle, 1 tackle for loss, and 1 sack. And then we move on to Jaron Reed, Uchenna Nwosu, Raymond Jones, and Derek Hall, all with 1 tackle, no solo tackles. Now, in the end, I'm thinking this defense did a very decent job. Honestly, 2 picks, very good from Jones and from Bryant, but we could have done better at least. We only allowed 18 points. That is 18 too many, in my opinion, for the Seattle Seahawks. We should be, honestly, leaving them at 0, but we're not the best defense in the league, so I get it. In the end, this team has what it takes to make the playoffs and potentially an NFC title game at the most. I don't think they'll make a Super Bowl, but they'll definitely have an opportunity at the NFC title game. But that's as far as they go. Otherwise, the Seattle Seahawks, honestly, they're just lucky to be leading the NFC West and to have the record they have. Now, this game, honestly, was a very big win for the Seattle Seahawks. Honestly, this was not only a very big staple win for the Seattle Seahawks, it was one to get a 2-game lead, potentially, on the division leaders, the other division teams like the Rams and 49ers, while the Cardinals dropped back to either 4th or 3rd. Honestly, Seattle jumping up to 85 and Arizona down to 6-7. Honestly, this is very good for Seattle, and I'm expecting them to potentially win one more game, and hopefully for Los Angeles and San Francisco to lose, and potentially Seattle already makes the playoffs as the division champions. 9 wins, potentially 10. That's as most as I think Seattle's going to get. But in the end, this is going to be an uphill battle for the Seattle Seahawks moving forward. Now, that was it for this video. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. Tweet me any video ideas. Also, tell me down in the comments below, do you think Seattle's going to be the division champions, or do you think they're going to fall to the Rams or 49ers? Tell me down in the comments below. Now, like this video if you liked it, subscribe, and hit the notification if you want more videos, and I'll see you guys next time.